Hello, RSC. Welcome. We're going to talk about cost savings tonight. I love talking about cost savings, one of my favorite things to do outside of good clinical stuff. I think I like things that save me money, and we're going to talk about something tonight that saves us money, and that's a good thing. So we're going to talk about Intuitive's extended use program, which is being rolled out, and they're going to be increased in the number of uses per instrument. It's a redesign, I believe. We're going to hear all about that very shortly. So talking tonight is going to be the Chief Safety Officer, Mark Tusiant. He was a practicing general surgeon and bariatric surgeon, very busy, did a lot of proctoring, did a bunch of robotic cases, and then moved out of the surgical world and into the corporate world. And so he's got a nice presentation for us tonight, showing sort of the rationale and the reasons why and behind and how the new instruments are coming. So these are getting rolled out. They're coming your way. Ultimately, you're going to get them whether you want them or not, because this is what's coming our way. So I'm going to let Mark take over and give a nice presentation on this, and we'll have a little Q&A afterwards, and we can ask the hard questions you probably want to ask. We're happy to ask those. So at this point, Mark, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. And so good afternoon and good evening. Hope that everyone is doing safe and well. Again, as Tom said, I'm Mark Tusiant, Medical Safety Officer at Intuitive. I'm also a member of the RSC. I've been so since 2015. I was in practice for 11 years. My robotic cases began in April of 2015, and then just recently for the past year, I've been the medical safety officer at Intuitive. So thank you again for having me and inviting me here to talk about the extended use program. We are very excited about that. So let me jump into that. So in short, the extended use program really is designed to help lower the cost of care associated with each procedure. We are extending the number of uses of many of our most common Da Vinci X and Xi instruments to between 12 and 18 uses, and that's compared to our current 10-use instruments. Now, these changes have been years in the making, and continuous innovation really has been the focus of Intuitive for these instruments to exceed the 10-use count in order to better align with everyone's needs to be more cost sensitive, especially on procedures that are more in line with benign general surgery. Now, reducing the price per use of the Da Vinci Xi instruments on these procedures really tries to give us an element of parity with laparoscopic procedures for these benign bariatric or benign general surgery procedures as well too. And so ultimately our goal is to align our goals with what we call the quadruple aim. And I'm sure you've heard us talk about that before, but really we're looking to lower the total cost of care, to provide more access to care for our patients, to drive better outcomes, hopefully get a better patient experience, and ultimately a better team experience as well too. Now, the program began out of insights into your needs and our knowledge of our instruments, and we developed this program allowing us to operate better together. So we've continued to innovate our progress long after their initial release. And in the extended use program, the innovation has led to an increase on uses on some of our core instruments while maintaining that same trusted performance from the time the instrument is first used to the time that the instrument is last used. Now, this cost savings really helps drive value expansion and savings both at the procedure level and at the programmatic level as well. Now, the savings will vary by customer and country. And in the US, for example, we expect the extended use program to result in a cost savings between 9 to 15% for the majority of our customers. Now, this of course depends on the specific procedure mix and utilization, but ultimately we expect this program to help drive down costs associated with patient treatment. Now, one of the key issues that this program addresses, again, is driving down cost of care. And at the launch of our initial Xi in 2014, our instruments were validated for 10 uses. Now, this was based upon material and designs and testing that was available at that time. Now, we've leveraged data from more than millions of cases in order to improve our design and material selection. And these improvements have shown with our data that the instruments have become more reliable over the course of time. Now, extending use of instruments really was not as simple as switching something on or off. I remember back when I first started wondering why it wasn't easy just to kind of go from 10 uses to 12 uses. And really, this is not as simple as what I thought it was back when I first started robotic surgery. We at Intuitive really have been investing in design and manufacturing changes to increase the quality and durability of our instruments continuously over the past 6 years. And now we validated these instruments for these additional uses. Now, these changes, again, are years in the making. And so the engineers and numerous other teams who have helped make this happen, my hat goes off to them. Again, my initial thought was simply just increase the numbers. Why is that so hard? And it really is more challenging than that. But now the results is that we validated our instruments for an additional 2 to 8 uses beyond our current 10 use limit as well. And the results of the extended use program, on average, about a 24% price per use reduction per instrument. We anticipate a 7.5% reduction in our annual quantities of X and XI instruments. So that'll improve programmatic operations through decreased ordering and frequency and waste. Now, some unit prices will increase on some instruments, but there will be savings overall in instrument spend due to the extended number of uses on these instruments. And there are some instruments that are not part of the extended use program, but are commonly used in cost-sensitive procedures like benign general surgery, like inguinal hernia, ventral hernia, chole. And what we've done with those, those list prices have been reduced as well. Ultimately, again, our goal is to strive for parity for versus laparoscopic procedure for these cost-sensitive procedures as well too. So the list of the instruments, as you can see here, there's a total of 13 instruments that are included in this program, from long tip forceps to Cartier. The list will be available. You can check with your reps about the list of the extended use instruments. But we try to hit the most commonly used instruments that are out there that folks are using as well. Now, again, continuous instrument improvements have been made in design and materials, as well as proprietary testing. And these have been informed by data from millions of cases as well. These enhancements or iterations really have led to an improvement in instrument reliability over time. And now we've seen the instruments validated for an additional 2 to 8 uses beyond the 10 current uses within the instrument. So it's the same high quality instrument from the first use to the last use as well. So some of the design changes that we've seen. So we've improved our cable reliability, and this was done through design changes in advanced manufacturing processes. We've improved the grip performance as well. And this is due to material and geometrical modifications and lowering some stress points and damage. And then reprocessing reliability through design safeguards to minimize some of the common challenges by minimizing overextension within the reprocessing as well. Now, what do you need to know about this? Well, it's going to be the same look and feel as your current instruments, with the exception of a new part number. The part number will start off on 471 with 3 letters or 3 numbers to follow. And you'll also see an update on the vision card as well, showing the new numbers of uses as well. The instruments will start to be available as of October 23rd. So really in 3 days, and they'll be coming either way. But really what we'd like you to do is advocate for the transition, make your robotics coordinator and teams aware, as there will be a bit of a transition from the current instruments of 10 use lives to the extended use lives as well too. And certainly you want to have your teams follow the best practices for reprocessing to take full advantage of the extended use lives there as well. So I'm going to do a little bit of a pivot and talk about another program that we have, the MyCase Data app, which is a little bit different than the extended use programs, but does blend together well. For the MyCase Data app, what we're looking at is on the top part of the iceberg here is really the extended use program, right? The likelihood, the driving down of cost per procedure through this program. And over to the right there, you can see that, and I know Dr. Swope doesn't necessarily like the term choreography, but when you choose the right set of instruments from the extended use program, you can certainly make the most economic impact of that extended use program. And at the end of it all, you really want to prove to yourself that the data that you're getting helps make that difference as well too. And that's where the My Case Data app comes into. It's a program that allows you to collect data on your hernia cases as well. And I'll go into that a little bit deeper. So the My Case Data app is a new hernia data collection tool from Intuitive. If you hold your phone up to the QR code that's on the screen, well, if you're watching Facebook from your iPhone, it might be a little bit hard, but we can get you that QR code. And what it'll do is it'll put that app onto your phone, because this app is currently not available on the iStore as well. And this is only available for iPhones at the present time. And still, actually, we're planning that just for the iPhone right now. But this app itself will allow you to track your hernia data and your procedural data. It's a mobile solution to tap in and put in key metrics from the preoperative, perioperative, and postoperative. It's real quick and simple to load on your phone. The data that you have on there, it stays local to the phone. You can push it up to other devices if you choose, but you have to put that into a password as well. And at the end, we do comply with data. We comply with all applicable data privacy laws and regulations. We collect product data really from a system perspective to only advance patient care and safety, and then data collection and use outside of these general purposes for agreements we do not use there as well too. So a little bit about that. But in the end, I just want to kind of tie this all together, kind of hitting onto our mission at Intuitive, because I believe that strongly that the extended use program and the My Data Collection app, My Case Data app, really connect with that we believe that minimally invasive care is life-enhancing care. And through ingenuity and intelligent technology, that we can expand the potential of physicians to heal without constraints. And really the extended use program, kind of increasing lives and number of uses between 2 to 8 is really an extension of all that. It's really the value cycle that kind of goes up with that as well too. So I'm going to pause there. I'm going to let Dr. Swope kind of take it from there.
All right, so I'm supposed to kind of run through this little presentation and talk about how this is going to affect my practice. And I think it's going to affect it in a positive way. And then we're going to go back and do a little Q&A after that. So for me, I really should have trademarked this, but the get good, get fast, and then get cheap, that's been used a lot. And again, I've been very, very efficient, I think, and gotten very ergonomic in my instrument use and the efficiency, how my cases flow. And I think that makes me less expensive. It makes me more efficient. And ultimately, I deliver some pretty good patient care, I think. And I know that because I track my data, and that's where that data app is really nice. I'm a big proponent of tracking data. You can see where you compare with others. If you're not on par with where you should be, then you can drill down and look at ways to improve your processes for those cases and try to get them improved. So this is me, and I had them go through my cases for last year. And then with the way they were priced last year, and then with the extended use, how much cost savings would I actually see? I wanted to know. So you add this up, and this is a little over 40 grand in savings. And this is just me. And there's very busy robotic surgeons at my hospital. So this is going to add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings. And I like to see that. I like things getting more cost efficient, more on par with laparoscopy and open surgery. So I think this is a win. It's a $40,000 plus savings just for me, doing what I'm doing already and without changing anything. Here's some examples of instrument choices and what you can do. This is my inguinal hernia cost. So that's me over there on the bottom right. I'm pretty lean with my inguinal hernia stuff, and I just use a ProGrasp and I use a hook. I'll break out a bipolar for a big scrotal, which I've done a lot of since COVID ended, or got me back after COVID. I've done a ton of scrotal hernias. I don't know why. Probably done about 20 or 25. And then the mega suture cut. And then compared to the national average, that's $1,190. So I'm coming in significantly less expensive, especially after the changeover to the extended use. A lot of folks out there, we use the monopolar scissors, the Mega Suture Cut, and the ProGasp or bipolar, and you're still seeing savings, not as much as on the right, but still you're going to get savings compared to the national average. This is ventral hernia, and so I do like a bipolar. Back when I was doing IPOM, I was using a ProGasp, so this would actually be pretty much at 975 because of the fenestrated bipolar. I'm doing a lot of ETEP now. I like that bipolar in there for hemostasis. I'm using that for my left hand, but still coming in less expensively with the extended use, and then the national average at 1238. It's just a little over $1,000. More savings there. Here's gallbladder. Again, I come in pretty cheap on the old gallbladder. I use a Cartier, clip applier, and a hook, and that's pretty much all I use. I use a disposable port, but if you're a fourth arm person, and again, I really encourage people to do four-arm gallbladder in the beginning just to learn how to use that instrument and how to switch back and forth between the arms, especially early on in your learning curve. I think that's a great four-instrument case. Again, pretty significant cost savings versus the national average there on gallbladder. So I'm coming in much less expensively. And again, that's amplified with the extended use compared to what I was doing in 2019. So, if you're not, giving a presentation involving intuitive and you're like, well, how do I figure out how much cost savings I'm going to get? Well, it's pretty easy. Talk to your CSR, your CSA, your CTA, your CSM. There's a lot of them, CSD. There's a whole lot of letters you can refer to get drill down and get your numbers. So work with your rep, and then they will in turn work with your robotics coordinator and your OR team. And then you can figure out how much money you're going to save when you switch over. You don't really have much of a choice, as it turns out, because this program's coming and these are going to be the new instruments. And so the old ones are going to get phased out, and we're going to get phased into the extended use instruments across the board. For what I understand. We can talk about that in the Q&A. So that's the end of my slideshow. And I think we're going to open up to a little Q&A. And we're supposed to be split screen, I'm told. I'm very excited about that. And there it is. Hey, we can almost high five.
Oh, yeah. Wait, let's see. You're going the wrong direction.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
there you go. Oh, no, I was better with my left hand.
So fancy technology here. Thanks, guys, for that. So I know you covered a lot of this. And I'd like to just drill down a little bit more. So, as someone who's been using instruments for a while, and I've been very cost, conscious, how or why, you said you can lower the price on the existing instruments for some that maybe you're not going to roll out the extended use on. And then you're doing this extended use thing. Why the decision to do that now? And why didn't you just lower the prices on the instruments 3 or 4 years ago when you could?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the first part of it is that this has been a program that's been in development for the past, really the last year and a half, kind of very, very specifically. But we've been working and iterating these instruments for the past 6 years to improve overall the reliability of these instruments. So, now that we've done that, we've been actually looking to share the savings with our customers as well too, with you guys, so that now with these instruments kind of being able to go out longer periods, we've actually been able to adjust the pricing on those to provide the better value at a lower cost, that price per use with that as well too. Back early on when we first started these 10-use instruments, when 2014, the materials and the designs that we had at that time were different. These are fundamentally different from a design perspective instruments that we're using today than we did back in the 2014, 2015 timeline. And what we found is that some of those instruments were having sometimes a bit of a challenge to even make it up to their initial 10-use lives, and we continue to iterate and make those better over the course of time as well too. And really, the data that we've gotten from a lot of these cases over the last 6 years really helped drive us in which direction to go to iterate some of these design changes. And so that's really where we've been going. So we've been investing into these instruments for the past 6 years, and now really we're at the point where we can extend these lives, and really then focused on really putting through the devices through the test, the mechanical test, the electrical test, as well as the reprocessing test as well too, to make sure that they truly hold up. Because our goal is to validate, and we have validated these instruments to be as good as the first time to the last time that they're being used, one of the things that differentiates us from remanufactured or reprocessed instruments as well too, that our instruments will actually function, are designed to function the same way every time from the first to the last use as well too.
Okay. So why decide, hey, we're going to do 18, why not 20?
Well, again, that's really more to that validation that kind of goes on there, right? So if we could get, instrument designs are different. The architecture of each of these instruments is unique. The stresses on some of these instruments are unique as well too. And so it's not a one size fits all. I know that sometimes you look at the instrument and you think, boy, they're probably the same under the hood. They're not. They're actually different under the hood. And each one of those pulleys and levers that goes in there experiences different stresses, wear and tear on the different cables that are moving around. Then you add in the reprocessing as well too. And so some instruments just are hard to kind of get to the longer extended lives as well too. So right now we have validated them for the 8 uses for some and the 2 uses for others. And really we're kind of carrying those along as best as we can. Certainly if we could have made it 4 uses on some, we would have, that much I can tell you. And we continue to iterate these instruments as well too.
Yeah. So I love those scissors, the monopolar scissors. Is that going to be extended life instrument?
No, that's currently a 10-use instrument that's there, and the price on that is staying the same as it was before. It's a very heavily used instrument, and we feel that with the way that instrument's used, it's priced right for the value that it gives with that as well too. So right now, there are no changes to the MCS that we're looking there.
All right. Hey, will there be extended lives in the future with that one? Is it like a technological thing, or just the volume of use it gets, you're just keeping it where it is?
It's a technological kind of thing. When you add energy to certain devices, it definitely increases the wear and tear onto it. It's amazing that just even energizing certain bits of metal, it'll actually make things change over the course of time. So in order for one of the things with an MCS is to maintain a sharp blade onto there too, and energy activation over the course of time can degrade that as well too. And so that's a hard one to keep going longer lives as well too.
Okay, I was just curious. It's a popular one, so I figured I'd ask about it. So you kind of talked about this, and I guess you're going to get really geeky and technical. If I'm a user, I won't get into the instruments, the insides of it, but if I'm a user, let's just break it down and let's keep it simple. Actually, I'm at the bedside, and I don't know if I'm getting an old instrument, an extended use instrument. Is that going to make a difference to me clinically at the table? They're handing me an instrument, I throw it in. Will I notice any difference?
If you looked up at the vision cart and you would saw the number of lives remaining on it, that would be what you would see different on that. Other than that, it would function the same. So when you're at the console, as a console surgeon, and you expect it to do certain maneuvers and act and behave in a certain way and respond to the MTMs, you will not notice any difference with that. When you're putting it in onto the patient cart and into the patient, you won't notice any different with that unless you had a very keen eye and saw the part number starting off at 471. That would be your other indication as well too. Other than that, it should feel the same, look the same, and act and behave the same as well too. But now just for longer number of uses.
And then are you going to go away, get rid of the 10-use instruments and just replace all that with extended use going forward? Is that sort of the game plan, or are they going to both be available? And 1 and 2 available on the SI? This question follow-up too.
Yeah, that's a great question. So keeping it with the XI and XXI right now is that ultimately the game plan is that the extended use instruments will be the only instruments that you'll be able to order. That'll phase and transition out over the next couple of weeks, going from the ability to obtain the 10-use lives. And so really that's the call out to let your robotics coordinator and the folks getting those to make sure that they're bringing in the extended use lives earlier to get more advantage of the program in and of itself. Also to make sure that they're aware of it so that they can also increase their reprocessing, because the reprocessing lives, which is typically 5 additional reprocessing over the number of uses, that they want to actually make sure that they're monitoring that in the right way and the best practices way as well too. Working in a hospital for years, certainly that certain aspects of the hospital kind of stay with their same habits long and hard. So SPD is some of those places that have a hard time breaking habits. So certainly making the robotics coordinators know and be aware so that the SPD in person does not all of a sudden discard an instrument because they clicked off 15 onto there when it could have gone to 23 reprocessing lives as well too. So that's really the call out, really the call to action for that part of it. Now, in terms of the SI, we're not extending the extended use program into the SI. The architecture is very different. The instruments are very different. The program and a lot of the hardware is really becoming end of use, out of end of life onto that as well too. And so the predominant number of procedures are with the X and XI. And so we really wanted to focus there as well too. So right now, SI and will not be a part of that program.
Okay, fair enough. As an aside, by the way, we got the new generator. I was using the vessel sealer on a bowel resection last week. Oh my God, it's like so much faster. It's twice as fast.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
Pretty cool. It's a big difference. So if you guys want to get the new generator, it does make a big difference. About half the time to get through stuff. So we talked about the SI, so that's not changing. So again, we all certainly appreciate you taking less money and giving us cost savings, which is great. But what about what's driving that? Is it a competition thing? Are you worried that J&J's robot and Google or Titan or whoever it is coming out pretty soon and they're going to Medtronic or whoever it is, and that's what's pricing you down, or it's just you're just feeling good and you want to be generous? I mean, there's a reason for it. So what's the reason?
Yeah, the reason is that we were able to kind of do and extend the use of these instruments, and really our goal is always to try to be more on parity with laparoscopic benign general surgery type of procedures, right? The goal has always been to enhance patient care and to provide more access to high quality care. And what we do know and have known for years is that some barriers for a lot of surgeons and patients has been the price point of some of the instrumentation, right? It's always been a conversation when I was presenting on behalf of Intuitive before I started the cost of the procedure. And so we've been working steadily to try to bring down that cost of the procedure over the past at least 6 years for this particular with the X and XI instruments as well too. And once we've been able to, there was no reason to not start to roll out that particular program as well too. And again, we validated it. We aggressively put money and invested money into the testing for both the electrical, the mechanical, and also the reprocessing. So we actually invested money into these instruments to actually validate them so they could be longer and extended use with that as well too. With the goal really not being the competitors, the goal being kind of how we can increase high quality care for these cases that seem to be lower cost reimbursement as well too. And that's always been a challenge for us as well too. And this is really the first time we've really made big strides into that space.
Yeah, because it's funny how the conversation's changed from 2011, 2012, and I started doing robotics and I go around talking about it, and I would just beaten up on cost. People would just crush me on cost, and I'd show my cost data, and I was pretty efficient, but I always told my rep, if you could just get me 10 or 15% cheaper, cost thing would go away, and there'd be no real pushback on cost, or at least there'd be a lot less pushback on cost at the time. But now we're starting to see, really infiltrate general surgery and getting some really quality outcomes, and I think there's been a lot of process improvement. So I think that the conversation has really shifted away from cost, at least from what I'm seeing, and really moved away. And it's more like how to and when can we do it and when is it appropriate. And it's been an interesting change of how the paradigm has shifted here over the last 6 or 7 years. And this took what you said, 6 or 7 years or 5 or 6 years in development to get to this point. So you were clearly having that conversation back then as well. And I guess
You
this
know,
is your workaround.
it's always been part of the conversation, but it started off with the conversation of making sure that our instruments are more reliable, right? So if we say that's going to be 10 uses, we want to make sure that it is going to be for 10 uses, right? And so it starts on making sure that the products of what we do and say really kind of fall to that, right? So they really kind of are, we're putting our products where our mouth is, so to speak, with that. And so we're true to that. And so we're constantly making sure and reevaluating our design. But in that as well, too, you find that there are improvements that can be made, some different materials that can be purchased, different manufacturing processes. As more folks start to do cases and we start to see different instruments becoming more predominantly used, then you get larger volumes. So you get some price reductions, into there to kind of invest into those instruments. So it really starts to spin itself forward with that as well, too. And that's really sort of this concept of the virtuous cycle, right? Everything kind of goes forward, that more people are using the instruments. We invest more money back into those instruments. We share the savings of what we get from those instruments back with the users, who then have more folks be able to get high quality surgery with Da Vinci as well, too. So as opposed to a vicious cycle where folks spin down, the virtuous cycle in this sort of a scenario is spinning everybody up together. And that's really one of our predominant themes around the office.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's a lot, I was always like, just do a software push and just upgrade us to more uses and easy peasy. It's just hit the computer button and send and we're good to go. And clearly it's much more complex than that. And
yeah,
it's a little bit ignorant on my end, apologize, but that's what way back when.
Back when I was, kind of doing it before I came to work for Intuitive, I thought the same thing, right? It just didn't seem like a hard thing to do. But it turns out that it is, and we certainly invested into it and really are making it work.
Now, since you brought it up, you are a general surgeon and bariatric surgeon.
Yes.
But now you are, in fact, business person.
Now I'm a business person. Yes, I am now a business person. But
I know it's a totally off subject, but I just had to have some fun with that. So, I guess we could talk about that offline later, and, put a pin in it if you want to talk about it some more. But all this business speak that you guys have to learn and go through, it's just so painful to listen to. It's tough enough for me to sit through the, committee meetings and hear people with their clipboards, saying stuff. And I can't imagine doing it full time like you're doing. It's got to be a huge change.
It's a huge change. It's funny when I came over to work for Intuitive, I never thought of it as a 9-to-5 job. In fact, I put as many hours into this job as I did in my practice. I'm usually putting in 80 to 90 hours a week on the job. And I think perhaps maybe it's old habits that die hard with that as well, too. But, I can honestly tell you that everybody that I've worked with at Intuitive, and now I've met them all because I manage a lot of the COVID response for them. So I think I've now met just about every of our 7,500 employees personally, either through some form of a Zoom call or a direct email or communication. But everybody's goal is really the same, and everybody's really walking in the same direction. And everybody's desire is to provide the best products out there to enable surgery. And there isn't a day that doesn't go by that we don't talk about that patient safety is first. And the culture within the company is really to benefit patients and to really enhance care for surgeons and other medical professionals as well, too. And it's not just lip service. It's really how we see the world from Intuitive. And so from that perspective, coming over to it was easy because it really aligned with sort of my Hippocratic oath and kind of taking that part of it. And sort of my job as the medical safety officer is to try to make things as safe as possible that we can. And certainly there's always lessons to be learned and things to be kind of gained with different ideas, complaints, thoughts as well, too.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right. I'm kind of running out of questions and I'm going to check the chat board.
I will say this, Dr. Swope, is that when I looked at my cases and I did it, and I know you're doing your facts, that it was for my practice, which was predominant bariatrics. For my sleeve case, I would have saved $160 a case. And for my bypass case, it was going to be about $250 per case. So again, for one surgeon doing about 225 cases on an annual basis, that's a cost savings of about $30,000, right? And so then you think, boy, I was at a small community hospital that there were about 10 surgeons that used the system. So even at a small kind of 10 OR community bed hospital with 10 surgeons. If everybody else was getting the same types of savings, that's a $300,000 program savings for that small community hospital, which is a big deal. And then you scale that up to larger IDNs with hundreds of surgeons doing cases and multiple systems. The savings become real, and they become real important to the bigger picture of this as well too.
So another, just on a practical hospital basis, this is a whole rollout. Things are good to change. So are the reps going to be actively coming into the hospitals? I know it's COVID and they're sort of being limited in a lot of places to come. And are they contacting administrators? Are they contacting the robotics coordinators, all the hospitals, letting them know, hey, this change is coming, the extended use is coming, and be prepared for it? So everyone's on the same page and it's not all of a sudden something's new and everyone's confused.
Yeah, they should be communicating with them. I don't know exactly what their rollout plan from the commercial side is, but certainly it makes sense that they would be connecting with the hospitals and really promoting the program to promote those savings as well too. Yes, folks are limited in going into the hospitals, both from our end to help our health and safety of our sales team, but also from the hospital end to maintain the health and safety of their hospital staff as well too. And so it's an interesting times, but certainly I'm sure that there's a plan in place. I don't know exactly what that is, but certainly feel free to reach out to your CSRs, your CTAs, your CSMs, your CSDs, et cetera, and inquire about the program, because at the end of the day, you'll be the benefactor of that.
Sounds good. All right. Well, Mark, I really appreciate you taking the time to go over the program and the cost savings that we can anticipate seeing. This is, I think, is a great move for the company, and I think it's going to benefit everybody. So that's a win-win for as far as I'm concerned. I appreciate you taking the time to share that with us tonight. I hope that helps the folks on the RSC that are watching. And I think that's about all I have. Do you have anything else you want to throw in there?
Yeah, the last thing is that I was wearing a bow tie, not just because Dr. Swope had the bow tie on for tonight. I actually, I've been wearing that bow tie for years as well too, but it just kind of works out very well for this particular presentation. So I certainly respect the bow tie. That kind of goes along there.
Yeah, my daughter calls me Orville Redenbacher. So a lot of love, a lot of respect for the tie from my family and my kids. It's great.
I get Bill Nye the Science Guy a lot. That's sort of the go-to knockdown for me as well too. Even when I go out by strangers. So it's either Dr.
Nye or Orville Redenbacher.
There you go.
That's anyway. All right, very good. All right, guys. So that's it. We're going to wrap it up. Have a good night, RSC. I'll see you guys online, and hopefully someday soon in person would be great. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.